In a world where change is the only constant, Mo Shamil stands at the forefront, guiding title professionals to not just grow their businesses, but to master the art of innovation. With every episode, you're handed the keys to unlock unparalleled growth and stay ahead of the curve. Get ready for a transformative journey.
Podcast where we help top professionals grow, adapt, thrive, and change an industry. I am your host, Mo Shamil, CEO of Alltech National Title. Today's episode is one you won't want to miss, especially if you're looking to break into or better understand the world of commercial real estate. We're joined by Faria Ibrahim, a commercial real estate investor who's not only building an impressive portfolio, but also knows exactly how crucial title professionals are to making those deals happen. She's here to share her insights on navigating title in complex commercial transactions, what investors look for in a title partner, and how the evolving real estate landscape is shaping the future. Hello, Faria, and welcome to the Title Agents podcast. To start off, can you please give us a little background on yourself and where you grew up and your work history, college background, all that good stuff?
Of course. Thank you. Well, thank you for having me here. So just a little bit of my background. I was actually born in Bangladesh. That's where I'm originally from. But I moved here when I was very young at 6 years old, and I was in New York. But I really grew up in New Jersey mostly. Went to college actually as most Southeast Asian background. I did go to school for computer engineering. However, I knew from early on I probably wouldn't really pursue that career, but it was more to just kind of carry in the family tradition. So I finished computer engineering. Then I initially wanted to be in the fashion industry, which I did. I did start my clothing line, and I did a little bit of that. But I always knew I would somehow come back to real estate because partially my father was a developer overseas, and I always wanted to be involved in that some way, shape, or form. And then I also saw how, there's 80% of millionaires' tax return, they're actually real estate background, right? So that's always been a motivation too. But I was just always fascinated with real estate. I liked to see before and after of distressed homes and then of course development side of things or commercial side. So I started going into local RIAs and like how to get into the real estate side, and that's so after I graduated, I didn't pursue that side. I really went into the fashion. I went into day trading for a little bit, but then I found my way around to the real estate. So I initially started doing residential fix and flips, rentals. I was buying a lot of portfolios of single families and then selling them individually to investors that are more hands-off. So it was would buy as a package, like 12, 14 of them, and then would sell one or two as almost like rented, and we would manage it. So it was kind of hands-off for investors that just kind of wanted to place capital. And then I got into the commercial. I met one of my mentors that runs a commercial real estate group, and that's how I really got into the commercial side.
As a successful woman in a male-dominated industry, what moments stand out where you had to truly bet on yourself?
There's, I guess, several, but I would say, sometimes ignorance is bliss. And I knew, of course, it's a male-dominated industry, but I kind of didn't look at it that way. I kind of went all in and just didn't try to separate myself. I think that helped. Till like certain moments I would know, like, for example, if I went to see properties with my male partners, and they would hand the business card to them and not me. Like they would think I'm like the assistant that's just there. But until I start really talking, and then they realize that I am one of the principals. So, I started noticing those things. And of course, we do have to go the extra mile. I think we do have to really prove ourselves a little bit extra. But I do try to take it as we also stand out in a way, because like we go to events like ICSC, which is one of the retail real estate convention There was 30 to 50,000 people. And I realized as I started going every year, people always remember me because there's not too many women there that are principal or even wearing hijabs. So, people come, well, we met last year. I'm like, yeah, but I also met like 20,000 other people wearing suits. So, I try to be very, I try to remember people as much as possible, but sometimes, don't stand out. So I started realizing that is our, I guess, unique superpower to be able to stand out. But yes, you absolutely have to know what you're talking about being a woman in this. And I think that applies to everybody, but yes, we do have to kind of overdo it or prove ourselves extra for sure.
What role did mentorship or community play in helping you rise to where you are today?
Tremendously. I think having my mentors that already had years in the business and learning from their mistakes, learning from their successes, always I think took a lot of years out of me having to make those mistakes and help me speed things. Definitely. So I can't imagine where I am that I would be here as within the years I've been without having the guidance from the mentors that I've worked with. So I think you have to. And I know one of my favorite books is Who Not How. So by Dan Sullivan, and it's like finding that who can mentor me or who can guide me to get there rather than just how we can get there, right? So definitely, I'm all for mentorship.
That's one of my favorite books as well. Dan Sullivan is one of the brightest minds in business today.
I believe so, yeah.
Looking back, what values or lessons from your early life or career do you feel shaped your leadership style today?
I would say having integrity and having, being honest and definitely responsibility, like having the responsibility of carry on. Like, for example, we deal with a lot of investors' capital, so we have to be transparent. And I think having having integrity to, and just full transparency, full honesty, whether or not if the deal is not doing well or if there is anything goes wrong, because I feel like our investors trust us. It's not just the project, it's the sponsors. So I think that really is necessary. So integrity is, even my father has been in business his whole life, and I kind of saw as a young child that they would rather maintain their integrity over, if they had to let go of a project or if they had to, let go of some profit margin, but maintaining that integrity is very important.
Yeah, that's I hear so many horror stories, especially in the last couple of years with high interest rates. A lot of projects went south, and a lot of the GPs or the developers kind of not communicating. It's exactly the opposite of what you're talking about. Like, just when things are bad, people still want communication, like the limited partners.
Yes, for sure. To keeping them informed of what's going on. And, especially during COVID, we rode that wave, right? Like we had we lost tenants, and there are tenants that weren't paying for months, and we had to freeze giving out the preferred return till, we recoup everything. So it was, it's a partnership. So it's just having that communication, having that transparency, and having that integrity.
Sure. So how has the commercial real estate landscape changed since you started, and how have you adapted to the changes, if there are any changes?
So I've been actively on the commercial side of investment, I would say at this point, like 8 years or so. I know I haven't been long enough to see, insane amount of changes, but one of the major things, obviously, the interest rate has definitely shifted. I think it's gotten a little bit tougher. The lenders has been much tougher to work with in the past couple of years rather than what it was prior to that. So for us to get in, stabilize an asset and refinancing, we're underwriting in the 4s versus now it's like high 6s and 7s. So the rate definitely changed the valuation of the deals as well as how much we can lend on. And the construction side of things, it's gotten much tougher to get the construction loans, I would say.
What's one mindset shift that helped you stay competitive and relevant as the market evolved, especially in the last couple of years?
I would say it's just being positive mindset wise. I mean, I think we can make money in all market as long as you are consistent and as long as you are adapting to what's happening in the market. So I know some of my mentors I think don't ever let disaster go to waste. I might have spoken the code, but it's basically, even in bad times, you can take advantage of that situation and make something of it, or, just staying positive and see where the opportunity lays. So it's being consistent, it's being positive that no matter what, I think we can adjust to the market, and there's always opportunity there. So being able to seek out for those opportunities regardless of what's happening.
Can you share a pivotal deal or project that taught you something unexpected about resilience or risk tolerance?
Yeah, I would say one that comes to mind. We did a industrial project it's in Charlotte, North Carolina, a few years back, and we got a great deal. It was a 40,000 square feet industrial with 10 tenants. There was 9 tenants, so it was one tenant took up 2 spaces. And when we went into the deal, we bought it for 1.8, but it was on the market for 3.6 million for a long time because it had some environmental challenges. So we knew going into the deal that it needed a phase 2, and we would have either had to fix that, or we would have to work with the town. There's a program called Brownfields program, where the city is liable for that, or city is responsible, works with you with the program. So when we bought the property, we did get approved. We did get accepted. So there's 2 steps to the Brownfield program. So they initially accept you. That is a potential that they will approve you. So they initially accepts you, and then there is some steps they give you, like you have to maybe get rid of certain tenants who are causing that environmental issue to deteriorate. So we got accepted, and then we did everything that we had to do, but we weren't even. And of course, it's a government project. They had to assign like a case agent who would come and do that, but it was right after COVID. So it took very long for them to come, and long story short, we never got the full approval. It usually takes 6 months. We were almost a year in, and we didn't even have an assigned agent for that. And we tried to pay for expediting. So we had to kind of make decision, because if we were to go ahead and try to remove and do a full removal of the phase 2, all the issues that we had, it was high level of benzene and whatnot, it would be somewhere in the 250 to 500,000 to clean that out. We actually did have that in the budget. However, it might have expanded into the next property. And then if we opened that can of worms, we didn't know where it would go. So when we did all the work, we renewed the tenants, the leases, and as we bought the property, about 1.8, we did some renovations, another 200,000-300,000, and we would actually, the value, based on the value of the property, would have been 4.2, 4.3. And we actually went to many banks that were willing to give us loan based or refinance based on that value. However, because we weren't fully approved for the program, no bank would actually take that on unless we do that. So we're at a dilemma and then we started getting a couple of cash offers. So only way we could sell it is if somebody buying it cash and did not have to carry that phase 2, because no lender at that point would actually loan on that property. And even at the purchase, we couldn't get a loan. We had a seller finance, and our seller financing was coming to terms already, like it was expiring. So we had to make that pivotal decision. So we had a cash buyer that put in an offer at 3 million. It was, I think, 3.1 or 3,550,000-ish. So we basically took a haircut for almost over $1 million because we knew the property's worth 4.3. So it was, okay, well, do we put in another maybe $500,000 and get to that point, or do we not open that can of worms because we don't know what's happening next door if the environmental is getting into that. So it was a challenge we weren't happy with taking that offer, but I guess, we kind of had to make that decision. So it's a risk versus reward that we're asking, because we decided because we also had investors' capital in it. So we did not want to risk that So we ended up actually selling it to that buyer for a little bit over 3 million. I mean, we did well. We still made a little bit over $1 million, but I think we left a little bit, I would say, good 1.2, 1.3 in the table. But that's sometimes we would have to make those hard decisions, especially when you have investors' capitals involved. We don't want to risk it.
Absolutely. So let's shift gear to working with title professionals. How important is it for title professionals and investors to understand each other, mainly workflows, and where do you see the most friction or opportunity in that relationship?
I think it's a teamwork for sure. I think that, timing, speed is one of the main thing. A lot of times we are in a time crunch, and, as long as we have all the documents we need from title or the clearance from that on time with our timeline of the due diligence, that's very crucial. So yes, and it's also having that communication. I think the two main things that we need from any professional, and definitely title, is having that documents on time, as well as being able to communicate with the professionals.
Josh, what advice would you give to women entering commercial real estate or title work, especially those trying to make their mark?
I would say just go for it. Don't put, don't think that just because you're a woman, you have to do it other ways, or you would have to, you can't do it. I would say just there's a limit regardless. And I think we're in a world today where we have all the opportunities, the not same knowledges we can get, and really just go for it.
Well, what do you think top professionals need to understand better about working with commercial investors like yourself?
I would say it's basically the same thing. I think we're always, having timely reports and being able to get everything we need within that. Because, obviously we have a certain amount of days for due diligence, and we need to understand, whether or not we have to do, if there's anything that comes up in title, we have to go back to the attorney. So we want to give ourselves enough room for those. So as long as things are timely and, having that communication, being able to compare back if there's any questions we have right away.
What's one thing you know now that you wish you knew when you started investing?
I would say I would focus on few markets and really build on those markets. I initially, and obviously my backyard is one of the toughest market in New York, in North Jersey, where I am. I would still start building here more. So I went outside of my state where I thought I could, and your money goes much further if you go to Florida, Texas, or in southern states. And I'm grateful that I was able to do those. But I would say I would focus on one or two criteria of the category, one or two criteria of the real estate, and then also few markets. I was all over the place, and now I'm more focused now. So
yeah. What's the biggest myth people have about commercial investing or breaking into it? I know it may sound overwhelming or scary or too big, or the numbers may be a little bigger with more zeros.
Yeah, definitely more comments than zeros. I would say one of the myths is that you should start in residential, then come to commercial. And that is, yes, it helps, but it's not a prerequisite. You don't have to. I know plenty that never did residential and does very well in commercial. So you don't have to go through residential to come to commercial. So that's, I think, one that I always hear. I've never done a real estate, not even residential. You don't have to.
What advice do you have for title professionals who want to build relationships with high-level investors like yourself?
Networking. I would say definitely networking, and just see who actually, who has track records of getting things done. Because, of course, we all face that. We all go through deals that we finish due diligence and it may not work out, but who's actually closing deals. So I would say definitely being more involved, having more networks. Networking is definitely one of the best way to get into this business.
So what are some must-go-to conferences, I guess, for title professionals, the one that want to kind of get into that space? Is there one or two that are going to stand? I need to talk about CES, the commercial
ICSC, which
I
is
see.
the international, yeah, so it's the International Council of Shopping Center. So I would say, so they are, the large one is held in December, in May in Vegas, and then there's also regional ones. I would say that's definitely one of the top one where all definitely all retail real estate investors are there, but plenty others like multifamily and industrials there too. There's NAOP, that's for more geared towards industrial investors. But I think ICSC is for me, I think if you are consistently in ICSC, it's just so much exposure that it's almost like
in commercial investing, is it through the lessons you learned, is it better to focus on a sector, or is it multifamily, industrial, or is it kind of you leave it open to a deal's a deal? If it's a good deal, you kind of go after it, or more is it better to focus and specialize in a niche to understand it better?
I would say definitely focus and specializes. I like to diversify, so I wouldn't stick to just one category, but one or two, and not, I don't think, you could be mediocre in everything, or you could be really great in one thing. So I would say focus on one or two categories. And once it can evolve, right? So you can start in certain categories, you really understand the process of the full transaction, because the process of the transaction is same whether it's multifamily or retail or industrial or office. But once you really go through several deals and you really become like, you understand the process, you can always expand into others. But I think if you start with everything at once, it's, you can really, I did that myself. That's how I know. I'm like, that was probably one mistake that slowed you down too. So yes, I would say focus on a couple of categories.
You and I are part of multiple different mastermind groups, and I'm a big believer in masterminds. Can you share why do you join mastermind, and what impact it had on your career?
Yeah, I would say for sure networks from there, and finding like-minded individual, those who are striving for better, going to elevate themselves. So surrounding yourself, it's your is it average of 5 people you hang out with, right? So, and proximity is power, as Tony Robbins always says. That's one of my favorite quotes. So I would say definitely, being in proximity with those who are getting things done, being accomplished, it just motivates you and elevates you. For my commercial real estate group that I'm part of, it's, we meet quarterly, and it's like it's almost like accountability, and it's almost like a friendly competition of okay, I got this much done this quarter. So it's like we come back so fired up every time, because they're doing a lot more. So we're, and again, it's we cheer each other on at the same time, or it's almost everybody's experience we're learning from, what challenges they face this year at this quarter versus, or maybe hey, sharing context as well, right? I'm getting this much for the roofer, somebody has a better deal they're getting, why not have them? So it's almost like a sisterhood, brotherhood.
We come into a close of this episode. We come in a couple last questions. Do you have a favorite book or one that you read recently that stands out?
I would say one of my favorite, I think I just talked about Who Not How, definitely one of the best books that I've ever read and in terms of my career. One of my favorite books is The One Thing by Gary Keller. And yes. I think that was kind of shifted my mind from going from all different type of business or so many other things that I was doing, that focus on one thing until you're really great at that, and then expand in. So that really helped shape my focus on commercial real estate.
Awesome. And how about a favorite quote or quotes? I know you mentioned a couple in our conversation, but
I think one of the ones that I always go by is "We rise by raising others." I don't actually know who it's by, but it really did strike me. So I love that one. And then yes, proximity is power for sure.
How about last words of wisdom, especially to women in real estate or title or other professions, to empower them?
Yeah, just be unstoppable and just go for what you, if your dreams to be in commercial, go for it. I know it's might be specific or not specific. It might be a very male dominant industry, but I think we're making our marks. So Just, don't let anything stop you.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Faria, for joining us. We truly appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's a wrap of another episode of Title Agents Podcast. A huge thank you to Faria Ibrahim for sharing her real world insights and investor perspective on what really matters in commercial deals. Remember to share this episode with your colleagues and friends, and please give us a review. That helps our show grow. And thank you again. See you next episode.
In a world where change is the only constant, Mo Shamil stands at the forefront, guiding title professionals to not just grow their businesses, but to master the art of innovation. With every episode, you're handed the keys to unlock unparalleled growth and stay ahead of the curve. Get ready for a transformative journey